nice hit of bourbon for the show.
No one believes you.
You don't believe me?
Nope. It's not bourbon, so don't worry. It's electrolytes.
No, it's not. It's coffee.
No, my drink.
Oh no! I was talking about me, Alice. I was holding
pepper
a drink
is
up.
on.
I was holding a drink up, toasting.
Yeah, but then I said I think pepper's on top of my drink, but it's also not bourbon. It's electrolyte.
Have you come around at all, and you're thinking about Matthew Gaetz this morning, Allison?
I mean, I feel the same. I don't love it as a pick, but I'm fine. It's obviously not worse than any Biden administration official. It's fine. They should confirm him. It's great.
Awesome. And from what I was listening to, but do you listen to I don't want to give anybody else too much love, but do you listen to the Tara Palmieri podcast?
No.
It's called Someone's Gotta Win.
Okay.
She's really good. I honestly don't know, if she's on anybody's side. She's very matter-of-factly. She's cold-blooded. She's yeah, I'm pretty sure that all of Trump's nominees will sail right through. He got a mandate. He's got all the momentum, whatever. Totally, unemotional about the whole thing.
I'm seeing people on Twitter saying there's at least 5 to 10 votes against Gaetz in the Senate, though, Republican votes.
Do we know that until they
vote? I don't know.
Right. I mean, 10 Republican votes. Obviously, Vance gets a vote, right?
Yeah, that's true. Well, only if it's a tie.
Right.
If it's a tie, he's a tiebreaker. You can let James know to hang out with Peter if you need to.
Right out the store here? Jamesy!
I don't know. Thank you for your patience.
See, now, if he just answered after the first Jamesy, they just kept getting louder, and after the seventh one, he says, "Yeah, I know, I just got home." But I don't really. It's going to be interesting. It's sure as hell going to be entertaining. Mm-hmm. But this is the kind of entertainment that we probably just didn't need to begin with the thing. But with his allegations against him, and plus he's going to sit there and give it right back to the people in the committee and torch Democratic senators.
Yeah.
I think that could be absolutely fascinating.
I think Tulsi's going to get a lot of heat, too. I've already seen people on Twitter saying that she's a Hindu nationalist and she's a Russian asset and all these things about her. People really don't like her. She's one of those people. So I guess we'll have to see, how that goes. But I think it's possible that she could run into problems also.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I first of all...
She's not one that neocons and neolibs like.
I think that Trump has bully momentum, and if she makes him happy, I think that these Republicans are going to. They're going to have 2 years full of a president who's going to sign stuff for them, and I think they want to be on his good side, and I think they're probably going to fall in line. That will also matter of course, on what's going on in D.C., what kind of circus show it is that's happening. I mean, all of this stuff, when does this have to be done? I assume Vance at this point will be the VP when this happens?
Yeah, this is all going to happen after Trump is sworn in.
So Vance, first of all, who's taking his place in Ohio?
I don't know how Ohio does it.
I assume that's going to go red.
The governor.
And I assume
the governor appoints somebody, but I'm
not sure. Is the governor
Republican? Yeah, Mike DeWine.
Okay, so either way, that'll be red. So then there's one vote there, right there, and Vance's VP gets a vote, right?
Only if it's a tie. He's a tie-break vote only.
That's it, even on confirmations.
Yeah, only tie-breaking.
Okay.
So he can't get them up to the number, right? If it's 51-49, he can't do anything. If it's 50-50 only.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I am.
Yeah, Mike DeWine picks somebody, and then they can have an election.
Okay. So I don't even. As far as the other picks go, I am. I'm excited. I'm fine. I like to hear that Ramaswamy, when he talked about, and this was, I think, a little bit older. He had talked about, maybe this was when he was running, about things that would happen in the White House on day one.
Hmm.
And even though this is a little bit cute and caustic, it's still good to hear. It's nice to hear this.
Get in there on day one. Say that anybody in the federal bureaucracy who is not elected representatives obviously are elected by the people, but of the people who are not elected, if your social security number ends in an odd number, you're out. If it ends in an even number, you're in. There's a 50% cut right there.
I'm still in.
Of those who remain, if your social security number starts in an even number, you're in. And if it starts with an odd number, you're out.
What is 0? Is that an even number?
It's
or
an
not?
even number.
It is? I'm out.
Boom. That's a 75% reduction. Then literally stochastically, okay? One of the virtues of that, it's a thought experiment, not a policy prescription, but one of the virtues of that thought experiment is that you don't have a bunch of lawsuits you're dealing with about gender discrimination or racial discrimination or political viewpoint discrimination. Actually, the reality is you've, at mass, you didn't bring the chisel, you brought a chainsaw. I guarantee you, do that on day one and do step 2 on day 2. On day 3, not a thing will have changed for the ordinary American other than the size of their government being a lot smaller and more restrained, spending a lot less money to operate it. And most people who've run a company, especially larger companies, know this. It's 25% of the people who do 80 to 90% of the useful work. These government agencies.
Isn't that a great point?
Hmm.
He's totally right about that. It just reminds me of being at the newspaper when we talked about dead bodies being all over the building.
Hmm.
And that was just people, that was staff who was no longer productive. In fact, most of them were unionized, and they were pulling.
Negative production.
Exactly. They cost us, and
So-
you couldn't go to them anymore. So you could only go to a core group of people.
And I'll add a thought to that, which, once again, anyone knows who's been at a company, particularly a company that's not doing well, and where people like that who aren't doing anything are allowed to thrive, is that it's a vicious cycle, because nobody who's productive and good wants to work around people who are a net drag.
Mhm.
And the net drag people never want to leave because they'll have a hard time getting a job another place,
Right.
or they'll be fired from another place. So anywhere that's keeping around the people who are a drag
Mm-hmm.
is going to automatically cycle into having more people who are a drag, because they show up there, they continue to be a drag, and they attract more people who are like them, and good people just leave.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's terrible, because working around people like that is annoying and awful. And so you cannot have in an organization, if you think that your organization is immune from that, it's not. You cannot have people around who suck. And as we know, as anybody who goes to like the RMV knows, government employees tend to suck. And so I guarantee you that if it's that bad in the places where it's like customer facing and people can see it, it must be so much worse on the inside. Think about like the Massachusetts state government and how full of freaking dead weight that is.
Oh, absolutely.
And how much it would suck to work in one of those offices.
Oh.
Like, anyone who is not dead weight would hate to be there,
Mm-hmm.
because it would be terrible. So it turns off people who are good. And like, having worked in good companies and bad companies, there's companies where you feel like everyone's like on the team and rowing and working hard. And there's companies where you feel like you are fighting the tide to get anything done, and people hate you for trying to get anything done. And it's the worst feeling in the world. So yeah, the only way. And so what he's saying here, obviously he's saying this isn't a policy prescription, it's a thought experiment.
Mm-hmm.
But look at what Elon Musk did at Twitter. He
Well-
massively cut the staff.
Right.
But they don't even have to go that far. They could just say they need to go back to the office. And half of these
Right,
people that
right,
work for the
right.
government remotely would immediately quit, because they don't want to have to go back into the office like they did before COVID.
Oh, totally. Oh, totally. And I also think that, I mean, there will be ugliness, because there's going to be not only an active insurgency in many of these buildings, but you're going to have people who on the way out are rigging the place to explode, like it happened at Twitter. You know, there were all sorts of bugs put in, poison pills from the inside of the building, etc. To say F you, like on the way out. So that'll definitely happen in the federal government as well. And the media will be happy to report on the irresponsible, macheting that Elon and Vivek are doing, and how it's leading to fallout for real in the real world, for real people, especially our most marginalized, who really need those government resources. So that's all going to happen. Thankfully, you've got Iguana Brain as the CEO of the country, who's not going to care about the bad press that's happening like that.
Well, right. And I mean, people still try and say this stuff about Twitter, like, oh, it doesn't work as well anymore. It's losing money, blah, 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 all this stuff. But the core product works still at Twitter. They're still figuring out monetization. The thing never made money under Jack Dorsey either. The thing has always been running at a loss, and they haven't figured out a way to make the monetization make sense.
Is it? It's always? So
it's
how
always.
How is the building getting so much bigger?
Well, I mean, they do bring in revenue, but they lose money overall, with the cost of running it. And it's always been that way. It's been funded by venture capital originally. And, people keep putting money into it, and it just doesn't. They obviously make some revenue, or they wouldn't keep putting money into it, but it not enough to cover the costs of running the business. It just has never been that way. That's why Elon's tried so many things, like the subscriptions and the different. I think they will find a model, and I think the model is paying creators eventually. But rather than, because there's advertising, but the advertising on Twitter is kind of junky, and I don't know that.
Although the advertising on TikTok is rubbish too.
Yeah, but on TikTok they pay content creators, don't they?
People
get paid when their stuff does
They
well.
do, but there's also now like splash screen takeover ads. There's like they're definitely doing whatever they can. I mean, everybody in new media has always been filthy. They've always done the most off-putting wrong things. They used to have the Avatar takeovers when I was at EEI with like Dennis and Callahan and the sports guys like Diossi and Ordway and were terrible. They would be, these guys would walk onto the screen, the Dennis and Callahan thing, like talking about whatever giant glass, and it would cripple the functionality of the site, and there would be on all the sites, and and in the splash screens. I spent too many hours of my life in debates with the marketing salespeople about how splash screens make people hate you. I used to say it was like jamming the revolving door as somebody's trying to get into your hotel lobby and just making them stop while you message to them. It's like it's a way. It's aggressive. It's a way to. Anyway, this is very. I'm thankful I'm not in a position. Well, I'd be making a lot more money if I knew how to make stuff monetized like this. But it seems like a heavy work.
Yeah, so, but that's always been a question with Twitter. If you're Twitter, how do you make money? Facebook makes money. Google makes money. They make it on advertising. Meta's didn't used to be as good. Now Meta's advertising model is pretty good. People really like it. But Google's always been, the money's been in ads, and on YouTube also. So, I mean, long story short, Elon Musk was easily able to fire a ton of people at Twitter, and the product still works the same as it did, if not better. In terms of like, you can put up longer videos, the longer content. There's all sorts of different features and stuff. I think people have been pretty welcoming of the paid blue checks, honestly. Like, I think I see a lot of people paying for check marks.
Yeah, well, it's a good deal for us. I mean,
it's a good deal
we
for
can upload endless amounts of video. It's like it's really good.
And you can message. A lot of people won't let you message or reply to things unless you're verified. So it really does have positive features. I do see people paying for it a lot. So it's definitely like, I think sort of the stigma has gone away. Remember at first people would be like, oh my God, says the person who paid for a blue check mark. And I think
that did hurt though when they took my blue check mark away. Your guy.
Organic blue check mark.
Yeah, I was so much better than for a brief amount of time, Alice.
Poor you.
With my exactly 8,500 subscribers for the last 9 years.
So I mean, I think that any organization though that gets like big and bloated enough, you seriously probably can just cut half the people that work there, and everything will still work the same.
I think so too, and I do think that work production does manifest sometimes in in behaviors and habits. I'm sorry, like some dude who's programming at Google in Seattle on the beanbag chair, eating the free Skittles that they give you and the free Diet Cokes, and before he goes into the Pilates room. I'm sorry, that kid could also be whipped into shape in producing more. That's in my own opinion.
Mhm.
That Silicon Valley culture of we demand this can be barked right out of you, and I think in many cases it absolutely should be. Like there are programmers and IT guys, etc., who are absolutely, and I've worked with a whole bunch of them. There's the go-getters who mean it, look and feel, and they're hustling, and then there's the half-assers, and they're all, and this is in everything. This isn't just, it's in everything, and like the guys who hustle and create stuff, IT guys, programmers, etc., they don't want to have to wait around for the slow asses to do their part of the big functionality. So they'll just do it themselves.
Right.
And to become those guys. And then the slow asses, of course, will resent the guy who's, going too fast. He's like, we have 8 hours here. Let's just do our thing,
Oh, yeah. I've had people tell me that on projects. You're taking on too much. You never should have done this. It's making them think that they don't have to do their job.
Yeah, it's so good to not. It's good for me to not be in the world. I mean, ideally, you never know. VB got laid off a couple days ago, and AM radio. We have my go bag has been packed for 3 years. They're in AM radio. At any moment, they could just shut it down. There's AM is expensive too. The overhead that's going into my station right now. We've got 3 live talkers. A couple of weekend guys. Most of that stuff is paid, I'm sure, in a news department.
Right.
That is
as well as the signal.
Right, but as far as people with benefits, that's a rarity these days.
Oh yeah.
So
music stations don't have that problem.
Right, music station needs a morning personality. That's it, just for AM drive to sell stuff. That's really all they need to do. But they're still making it work. It's still making it. One of these days, I'll get into an industry when it's not peaked and isn't on the steep decline. Okay. Where do you want to go from here, Allison?
Okay.
Oh, we should mention the Alex Jones thing. So Alex Jones and what's it called? What's this thing called? Infowars is
it has been sold off to pay his debts to the Sandy Hook families that he lied about. And while I think that the Sandy Hook killings were real and that it was really shitty of him to do that, I will never understand. What did it end up being? A $750 million fine or something ridiculous?
Yeah, they get to have all this stuff.
It's like $1 billion. It was like the most absurd, huge fine, like for lying about them. Which, like, I do accept that he was lying about them, which sucks.
Right.
If your kid dies, to have somebody call you an actor, but like the fine thing. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand how you could.
Right.
Put that judgment against him. So now, in order to punish him, they've sold off InfoWars to the highest bidder, which happens to be. Do you remember Ben Collins from NBC? He was such a dummy. He was their misinformation and online.
He was a bitchy dude. He cried once, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He sucks. He went to Emerson. He's from some rich town in Massachusetts. He quit NBC because, well, he complained that he was like really sad about how terrible journalism was, and he was getting death threats and all this stuff. So he had to quit journalism. So he became the CEO of this company that bought The Onion, the satirical website, The Onion. So he bought The Onion and has turned it into an like just purely unfunny anti-Trump outlet, essentially, that's like trying to be funny, but it's not at all. So he's trying to do the Onion thing as CEO of this stupid company that bought The Onion. They bought InfoWars.
Yeah, I saw
Which
that.
I was like, I don't even understand what it means to like buy InfoWars.
I think it's a symbolic own, I guess.
But doesn't that just mean that they're giving their money to the Sandy Hook families now? Because they're going to confiscate the money that he gets and give it to... So, but, like, obviously none of the InfoWars people are going to listen. Like, what's the value of InfoWars without Alex Jones
I think it's an own, so it's going to be different. Now it's our InfoWars. It's going to be different messaging, different content. I don't know. I think it's idiotic what they've done. I just like, obviously the Onion has lost its way. The Babylon Bee was not always, but now is far superior.
Oh,
in
yeah.
funniness.
We can go to the Onion right now. I'll tell you what the stories on it are.
That's it, by the way. Still no action on that Melrose teacher. Still haven't heard. Like,
it's under investigation, is what I've seen.
these investigations.
So the top story is, here's why I decided to buy InfoWars. And he was like teasing it. He's like, stay tuned for news. The funniest news you've ever heard in your life. Like, it's not really that funny that you bought Alex Jones's microphones and the name InfoWars. And like, now you own, like, it's so stupid. Trump boys have slap fight over who gets to run foreign policy meetings.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Their InfoWars right now has Alex Jones with Steve Bannon. Bannon, who still could get a cabinet position, by the way, like, or could be nominated.
Yeah. Oklahoma law requires 10 commandments to be displayed in every womb.
By the way,
very funny stories here.
It has been confirmed, Alice. President-elect Trump appoints Robert Kennedy Jr. to lead HHS. You can get off of that, Alice. That doesn't matter. What I just read matters.
RFK Jr. is running the HHS.
Exactly.
That's great.
So you talk about you want to see people upset?
Is the Senate going to confirm him?
No idea.
The money they paid for will go to the families.
Okay,
yeah.
We can get off that.
No, but I think it's an interesting thing that they think they did something. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, ha, we bought it.
Yeah, no, I know. It's
now.
an empty. They don't get it. They don't get what they're doing. It's like an
so
own.
you guys get to pay the Sandy Hook families now.
It's just, you know what it is? It's calling me MSP in camp. When all the girls called me MSP for a male chauvinist pig all week, they called me MSP. Whatever, MSP. Like, okay.
Morgan says in the chat, let's go RFK Jr. I also think, though, that there are a lot of left-wing crunchy people who will be happy with that move.
Well, yeah. And did you see, did I send it to us last night? Did you see in the early 90s? Remember, it was very much in vogue to question vaccines.
Oh, yeah.
And there was
the left was questioning vaccines in late 2020.
Right.
I'm not taking that Trump vaccine that he rushed out.
Yeah, that's a good point. But it was like it was almost a default, like in 2002, and I remember at the time talking to women about it, and they're being afraid about it because that obviously the thought was that was leading to autism.
Big Pharma.
Big Pharma, exactly.
Is covering it up.
Here is this is sometime in the either late 90s or the early. No, yeah, the Democrat positions. This is
that's
the
why
late
they have
90s.
like measles outbreaks in California.
This is the late 90s. This is Jenny McCarthy and Jim Carrey.
I don't know what happened in 1990. There was no plague that was killing children, that we had to triple the amount of vaccines.
What happened after 1989?
The
Why did they
schedule
warranted 26 more vaccines?
Agreed.
Are all of them absolutely necessary?
Because they want to make money.
Of course.
It's twice as many as anywhere else in 30 countries in the Western world.
But
we give twice as many shots as any of those countries. Why is that?
Well, what are you against? Don't vaccinate for this, but vaccinate for that?
Yes.
I think we have to choose which ones are absolutely necessary.
You should educate yourself. We want to empower parents to educate themselves. Do we need to have the chickenpox? Do we need the hepatitis B shot on the second day of life?
I don't think we can afford to assume that the people who are charged with our public health any longer have our best interests at heart all the time. Parents have to make their own decisions, educated decisions. They have to look at the information.
Space out the vaccines, delay them till after 1, clean out the toxins that are in them. We don't need that many.
Why would a doctor not want to know more about something that could save a life or prevent a disease? I don't understand.
The AAP is financed by the drug companies. Medical schools are financed by the drug companies. This is a huge business. Vaccines are the largest growing division of the pharmaceutical industry. $13 billion.
They control
profit.
medical schools.
What we're asking is for them to take a loss for the good of our children. That's a tough sell in a boardroom.
Very interesting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and just how headstrong they were, and partnered up,
Mm-hmm.
and it was absolutely acceptable.
Well, yeah, I do think the other thing that would be really great that RFK Jr. should do as head of HHS is clean up a lot of the food guidance and regulations that have been stuck with this dumb food pyramid that has people eating freaking bread and pasta as the primary part of their diet and limiting meats and stuff like
And
that.
the WHO, even when I was writing editorials, even like 9 years ago,
Don't eat too many eggs. They have cholesterol.
WHO came out and said, look out for red meat, stop red meat. And we know why they want you to stop eating red meat. They've got it encircled, intertwined with climate BS as well. These institutions are absolutely corrupt. They're effing liars. And it is interesting. It just is interesting what's allowed to be in food, what's not allowed to be in food. And like just even talking to the person who invented Awaken 180 weight loss, she is astounded by the misinformation that was given out there.
Oh, the information that they tell people, it's no wonder Americans are obese, because the information that the official government is giving them to tell them what to eat is completely wrong. They give the kids low-fat chocolate milk in school because they decided that fat is bad, so they're drinking like watered-down sugar milk instead of like full-fat milk. It's the most insane thing. And then they'll tell you oh, only drink whole milk till age 2 and then switch to low-fat milk. It's all insane. It's all insane. Did you know too, by the way, you know how you're sensitive to milk?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that's a lot of people who are sensitive to milk, and a lot of people who are sensitive to milk can drink raw milk, but it's because the pasteurization and homogenization process that we put milk through so it doesn't separate with the, have you ever bought raw milk and it has the cream in the top, thick stuff,
No,
Greek
but I know what
yogurt
you
thick?
mean. I know what you mean. It separates.
Yeah. If you drink that, it has other enzymes in it that help your body break it down, but our pasteurization process kills them. So that's why people are more sensitive to milk. So a lot of lactose intolerant people can actually drink raw milk.
That's very interesting.
So, but there's all kinds of stuff like that. But of course, raw milk is illegal because it's easier for it to grow germs, right? Things like that. So, and I'm one of these people where I'm a pragmatist when it comes to this stuff. I think some things that Big Pharma does are good and some are bad, and you have to kind of weigh it and sort through it, especially when things are new, with the COVID shots, right? And we got them for us, but we didn't get them for our kids because it seemed so low risk for kids. I don't know. I think you have to weigh everything. I'm not as far anti-vax as a lot of people I know are, but I think it's clear that they've had major F-ups in the big pharma industry and in the vaccine industry where stuff they thought was helping was actually hurting. So I would like to see him look at that stuff, and I'd like to see him look at the food. Charm School, Dave from Florida in the chat says, I want RFK to make available to the public what prescriptions mass shooters have been prescribed. Yeah, I also would
that's
really,
such a great point.
really
That is
like
such a
to
great
look
point.
at these psychotropic medications and the effects that they have, because we seriously have a huge overprescription of these drugs. Also, birth control. That's a big one. That's one where I am a psychotic radical. Not because, I think everybody should have all the children, which I kind of also do, but I think it's absolutely nuts, and by the way, misogynistic, that we tell women that from age 12 until age 52, 40 years of their life, over half their life for many women, that they have to be on hardcore hormonal medications for 40 years of their life to prevent their body from working the way it's supposed to work. So that men get to have sex with them more. That seems like an insane, the idea that that's the feminist position to me is like mind-boggling. I cannot square that circle in my head.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that's a feminist position. You have to take this heavy-duty drug that increases your stroke risk and probably will kill you. And you have to take it for the next 40 years so that you can be sexually available to people.
Good deal for guys.
That's the feminism? That sounds like the freaking Handmaid's Tale to me. I'm sorry. Like,
You're right about
that. It's nuts to me. So that's another one I'd like. There's a lot that I'd like him to look at in terms of our standard practices in terms of health, and I think that's like definitely like the food supply. I think JD Vance is on board with a lot of that stuff too, in terms of like chemicals in our environment and in our food.
And also like they were saying more recently, RFK has been saying, if these people in the public health institutions are really in medical sales, then that's a freaking problem.
Yeah. Well, and also I think it seems to me that a lot of people who go into the medical industry are big like authority believers. Which, I mean, like we need people who like follow directions in society. It can't all be people who like never believe anything anyone tells them, or like society would break down. We can't all be out living off the grid. But the fact that the medical field is so packed with people who just like uncritically repeat stuff, like the allergy thing that we've talked about, where it used to be the recommendation to not give your kid foods when they were younger, which never made sense and we didn't do. But like our pediatrician uncritically told us that. She knows I just ignore her when I don't believe her, though. I have a good relationship with our pediatrician. But she's like, yep, so don't give any, like, allergenic foods until age 3 because we don't want to cause allergies. And now they're like, oh, the exact opposite. Yeah, we were probably causing
so dangerous.
allergies.
It's so freaking dangerous.
But they believe whatever the latest thing is. You know, I don't know.
Charlemagne the God Alice, wondering aloud what's going on here.
I just don't understand the White House visit. Now, granted, you know, I'm glad it's a peaceful transition of power, but what happened to the threat of democracy talk? What happened to the fascist talk? By the way, I know I've said those things about Trump as well, but I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about his political opponents like President Biden. When they say it, it holds way more weight than me. I'm just trying to figure out.
Why is that, Charlemagne? Why is it holding way more weight than you when his political opponents call him a fascist? I'm glad he's taking a journey into learning. I just wish
he's so close.
I just wish he didn't have so much influence before he had so much knowledge. But he's learning. Here we go.
Well, but I think, once again, like, I think it's a similar problem to the problem with doctors just respecting authority and believing the stuff that they're taught uncritically, where I think, you know, people think because society tells them so that the way to know what's going on and be smart is to, you know, listen to what the media tells you and what the professors at the universities tell you and all the really smart people running society tell you, and just to accept that. And like, I think in a lot of cases, the more people get educated up, the more they sort of respect these things, because it's also the source of their own authority on things, right? And I mean, not that I'm pro education in a lot of cases, not necessarily all of them, but it's the left has hijacked these institutions in a lot of cases. The psycho who was running Scientific American into the ground, making it this insane woke thing, she was forced to resign, which is nice. Like, it's like nature's healing now that Trump's elected. So I do think a lot of these organizations are sort of purging themselves of the like really extreme insanity.
Well, the AOC thing is huge.
Took the pronouns out of her bio. So I think it's starting to, like, the pendulum is starting to swing back a little bit with some of this stuff. But the problem is that people who've been raised to think like this is how you get ahead, you get educated, you respect authority, you learn to better yourself, you listen to the really smart people and the experts in their field, just like you learn about your thing, they're the experts in their field. And the problem is that the left knows that people are taught that, and they hijacked all that authority for their own political reasons, and they pushed stuff that wasn't true through those things. You know, it's not that none of these institutions had value. It's not that the medical field didn't have value. But if you are able to, it's, you know, the American Academy of Pediatrics is made up of really smart people. But if you allow your organization to be hijacked by trans activists so that you can't tell the truth about what trans activists are doing to kids anymore, then you've discredited your own institution.
Just think, in the name of politics, the amount of lies and destruction, kind of like dominoes falling boom, on each other. Just the COVID response was in this sense. You have Christine Walensky gets up and says, she's running the CDC, gets up and says, it's now safe for teachers to be back in schools. Walensky, then the White House, Randy Weingarten says, we're not putting the teachers back in schools because obviously the teachers unions are completely corrupt and they want to continue the shakedown. So then the White House then undermines Walensky, saying she said that in a personal capacity. And then out of service to the teacher unions, the White House changes the CDC's recommendation to say we need to hold it and keep the kids out of the schools. And so then the kids get mentally broken, and which has happened.
Well, and all that means that you didn't solve the problem of the teachers' unions not wanting to go back to school. All you did is discredit the CDC completely.
And then you tell a few months before all your medical professionals to tell everybody to get out in the streets because
racism is the biggest public health crisis.
Exactly. And now we're dealing with, I don't like this. People aren't trusting in institutions. Well, fuck you. We're not trusting in institutions.
Yeah, because you guys took the institutions and wore them like a skin suit to put forward your own insane ideologies.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, they can't complain now, but that's what will be good, because we do actually have to have a society where people trust the authorities. It's not good to live in a society where none of the authorities can be trusted. It's not a positive thing. We should have a society where somebody can sort through stuff and decide which vaccines are safe to license, look through the data. But you have to have these organizations, like public health organizations, not to be made into a laughingstock, because once you do that, you're cooked.
Correct.
Speaking of teachers, 3 Massachusetts towns still on strike. Marblehead, Beverly, Gloucester. They're being fined.
They want to get back to the kiddos. They really want to get back to the kiddos.
And they put out the kids like human shields to come out and say, we stand with our teachers until you can give them what they deserve for everything they do for us every day.
For them to have the audacity to say, we want to get back to teaching our kiddos. It means so much to us. We almost feel like the psycho in... Did we play her last night?
No. Well, we played her... We didn't play her apology.
Like the psycho in
Connecticut. Yes, we played her. The one who said she's going to send you out on a stretcher, gone forever.
Yes, here's her apology.
The message I was trying to get across, and it came off very wrong, was, if this is going to give people the almost permission in their minds to enact violence against women or anybody, I wanted to basically just say, I'm not going to go down without a fight. I mean,
By the way, that's her doubling down. What she said.
Yeah.
She's repeated it.
It's not really an apology.
Here comes the look into her psychology.
My life's dream to be a teacher. I consider those kids my kids because I don't have any of my own.
Yeah. Okay, psycho. I consider those kids my kids. They're mine.
They're mine, and I'm going to send you home on a stretcher. Okay.
And I want to get back to teaching them, but I need more money because we only got 2 raises during COVID.
Yeah, when I didn't have to work at all.
Exactly.
All 3 of those towns have an average teacher's salary in the mid-80s. By the way.
Yeah.
So they make more than you do.
So I don't get summers off, though. It's interesting.
That's true. Yeah.
We should do the chat else.
Yes, the chat.
This one's called Long Rant. This is 2 minutes and 9 seconds. I'm scared.
Hello, Tom and Alex.
Hey.
Oh.
I don't know if you have friends that are liberals, but most of my friends were liberals. notice I use a past tense word, were. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I've been cut off after they've found out I voted for Trump.
Mm.
So yeah, every word under the sun now, excommunicado. They even use the word you're garbage, you're a Nazi,
Yeah.
white
the president does.
supremacist.
They're really good people, though. They'll tell you that they're really, really good people.
Mhm.
It's just like, oh, okay. It's like, you do know I've dated black women, right? Anyway,
I don't think that's a lot. I don't think that matters to them. You're a Nazi. And the black woman you dated then is also a Nazi.
it's just ridiculous. You don't need these people in your life anyway,
Agreed.
especially ones who borrow like a book from you and then never return it to you. Then you have to buy same book that you loaned them.
Hate that.
And then you run into this person again and they go, oh, you bought that book again? Oh, so I get to keep this, so it's a win-win.
Oh, that's a
And you're
tough one. That person's a bastard.
no, not really. I lost on that one because you kept my book, you thief.
This is why I don't read, and I suggest nobody read. But Justin, why are you reading a book more than once? Like, if you've read the book, then you don't need to buy a new one because it's over. The pain is over. Okay,
But it's like being with an old friend.
No, it's not. It's not like
It
being
is.
with an old friend.
It is.
That's why I hate loaning stuff.
Mm.
This is a rant now. I'm doing a rant. This is like a Stephen Gloucester rant. I'm just meandering. But the thing is, I'll never know what. It was a Wilco book. I'll never know.
What's Wilco? The band?
I don't know what that means.
When Uncle Tupelo broke up, and did they make two different bands? And one is considered America's Radiohead.
I am your passenger. That's Wilco, I think. And the other guy. There's another guy involved.
Never know because he took my book.
Wow.
That's him. All right. Let's see.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, Charlie.
There's no doubt in my mind that you like women.
Yeah.
But when you say you repeatedly blow Alice's mind, the only phrase that came to my mind was, hit the gas. Thanks.
Remember that cruelty, Alice?
Mm-hmm.
That was terrible. That was terrible. There was a subsequent rematch, by the way. How dare you? How dare you?
Sometimes I'm in a rush.
Oh, jeez.
Why? Why, Matt Gaetz? Why? Oh, he's a rapist and he's got funny face and his hair looks like Elvis. I have to tell you guys, I'm going to be going to a sales meeting in December with my company, and they're going to be handing out boxes of tissues.
Oh.
They'll be all over the place because these people will be bawling their eyes out over the fact that Trump won. And I know I have to sit and endure and listen and just be, quiet and nod my head and yeah, that's great.
Facebook has been so pathetic.
But internally, I will be jumping for joy.
God, they can tell.
Jumping for joy.
They can tell, Dr. Cheswick. Look out for that if I were you.
We have been waiting 4 years for Donald Trump to become president of the United States again. So I don't think any of us should fall into that media playbook of trying to question anybody that he has appointed for a cabinet position, including Matt Gaetz. This is the media propaganda. This is what they want you to believe. And we just can't give in or question it because Trump is putting people in positions that they are going to excel at. And I don't think he's making these picks on his own. He's getting people to help him with this, especially Tucker Carlson, for example, who's really good in the political world. And the people that Trump is nominating, people like Gaetz, people like Tulsi Gabbard, have a bone to pick with the left. And if this is retaliation, if this is payback, so what? It's a good thing. Tulsi had that issue with being on the TSA list, for example. You don't think that she's mad and she's going to do a great job for Trump? So these are his people, and, I'm enjoying it. I love that Marco Rubio's part of his cabinet, for example, because he's going to do a good job because he's pissed at the left. And I hope that Trump continues to appoint people that are going to piss the left off. So if RFK gets in there, if Carrie Lake, if even Marjorie Taylor Greene gets in there, for example, it's a good thing because these people are going to make America great again. So let's continue to support Trump 100% and not give in to the left media talking points of questioning people like Matt Gaetz because it's just a waste of time.
I'll put a limit to Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't like.
If only because she's another member of Congress.
And also,
I'm scared of women who lift weights.
I also don't like the idea that she's also learning on the job too, having machinations about space lasers and stuff. Ugh.
Yeah, and I feel like we live in America. We're allowed to question anything Trump does if we want to. I don't think he cares, and so I don't know. Would I have picked Matt Gaetz? No, but no one elected me, so.
Ooh, look what I just sent you from Ben Domenech of the Federalist. Did you see it?
No.
Scathing. I want you to read it in your language.
Hey, Tom and Alice.
Hey.
I just want to say a quick thought on the women in the military. Women should serve in the military. I think everyone should serve in the military. I have friends of the Marines. I had a Marine in my employ at one point in time, and he told me the problem with women in combat is that the men will automatically try to protect the women. And that is one of the big issues with women in combat. I'm not sure what your feelings are of that, or if you've ever heard that before, but when he said that to me, it kind of made a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, it does. It does as well. And I think the idea that, I heard this maybe it was during the Iraq War, et cetera, that it would wear on the men, just feeling guilt, et cetera, something would happen to any of the women. And the idea that women could be, prisoners of war, et cetera, and God knows what could happen to them. Yeah, but yeah, I have no problem with women not being in combat. For God's sakes, why are they in combat? Men go and do the fighting. Okay, it's just what it's been. Like if they want to, fly drones from Langley, Virginia, then have at it, or anything else. But no, even though they're fighting in the ground, no.
Yeah. So
hold on.
Hey, Alice. Hey, Tom. It's Rudy.
Hey, Rudy.
Listened this morning to last night's show, but Trump's screwing up. He's got 3 House seats that he has to hold on to, even though we're at 218. Looks like we're going to get to 220, which would only leave us with 217. It's a very slim margin.
It is very slim.
The 2 Florida seats will be retained by Republicans to get us back to 219, but it can hold up the House until it's done. Couple things, though. This week, you talked about age and younger people.
Yes.
Remember, I work in a restaurant, and the average age is probably late 20s if you combine all of us and average it out. And it's a trip. But as the great Gordie Howe's wife once said, this is literally what Gordie Howe's wife said when he came out of retirement to play with his sons in the World Hockey Association. Age is just an attitude, Tom. Remember that. Age is just an attitude. And you could also take my grandfather, who was 40 years older than my grandmother.
Wow.
He lost his wife. She died of cancer. Remarried a woman when he was, 30-something years age difference, whatever. But he remarried his next wife, who was 24 when my dad was 21. So
Here we
used
go.
to say, you're only as old as a woman you wake up next to.
I know.
Remember
I'm looking
that.
to trade up soon.
So you're in your 30s. You got the 5 kids to prove it, which disputes Tim from Canton's little blue pill theory.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure why you talked about getting it, because you do have 5 kids.
Right. Well, yeah.
But keep up the great shows, and talk to you later.
Yeah. No, it's great stuff. I would always suggest those pills are excellent. Excellent. I guess I am on the blue one now. I guess so. But it's all generic. There's a way you can just do it through Amazon. It is just I know all you guys are very macho, and I'm the only one who ever had any problem at all in my whole life. I know it's just me. That's why Pfizer's such a small company. But let me tell you, if everything is good, it's gooder with the pill. Just telling you. Can you read the Ben Domenech thing, ma'am?
He writes
This
on
is the
his...
husband of Meghan McCain, editor of the Federalist.
He writes on his Substack, Matt Gaetz is a vile sex pest, and any senator who votes for him owns that. Crush some Viagra and pour the Red Bull in your veins. I realize that we are occasionally given to hyperbole about the untoward nature of politicians, but let me be clear. Matt Gaetz is a sex-trafficking, drug-addicted piece of bleep. He is abhorrent. His eyes are permanently rimmed with the red rings of chemical boosters. In person, he smells like overexposed Axe body spray and stale Astroglide. The fact that he boasted on the floor to multiple colleagues in the House of Representatives of his methods of crushing Viagra and high-test Red Bull to maintain his... through his orgiastic evenings is perhaps the least offensive of his many crimes against womanhood and the Christian faith. The man has less principles than your average fentanyl-addicted hobo. He likes them underage, and he's not ashamed about it. Matt Gaetz isn't just your average extreme Florida MAGA man. He's a hypocritical ass with the worst Botox money can buy, pursuing an ever-thinner nose and higher cheekbones at every opportunity. Like a real housewife gone mad for fillers.
Can I say something?
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of a bitchy take from a guy. It's like, really, dude? Is this Megan making this?
Every Republican in Washington has an opinion about Matt Gaetz, and 99% of those opinions are keep Matt Gaetz away from my wife, daughter, friend, and anyone I care about. He is a walking genital, warts included as a bonus. If I was merely attempting to count the number of women I know who have had bad experiences with Matt Gaetz, I would run out of fingers and toes. If you vote for him to be the Attorney General of the United States, you don't just need your head examined, you need to be committed to a mental institution.
Wow.
The man is absolutely vile. There are pools of vomit with more to offer the earth than his STD-riddled testament to the failure of fallen masculinity.
Damn. This is the most exciting thing Ben Domenech has ever done. I mean, he said that his commentaries usually aren't that interesting, but here we go.
Yeah. So anyway, this goes on and about the stuff against him. And there are a whole bunch of people who are convinced that the reason he stepped down is
because of the rape thing.
Yeah, because the congressional investigation won't have...
Oh, the Democrats are demanding, the senators are demanding it. The Republican senators are demanding to see it. Cornyn has already said, I want to see all the stuff from the congressional hearing.
It's going to be an interesting...
Sure as hell is, especially if he's, coked up on Red Bull and blue pills and he's like, F you to everybody. What a time.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody, and joining us on the live stream. If you like the live stream, we do that every day on the Patreon. We do it just Thursdays with everyone. So you can join us for that at patreon.com/burnbarrel. You can also, by going there, you can listen to the RSS feed of the podcast ad-free, which is also kind of nice. If you like listening for free, you can go to burnbarrelpodcast.com. There's links to iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, all the regular places.